back the clock. Turn 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 back the clock.
Hey, welcome back to Turn Back the Clock. Dylan, how's it going, man?
Dude, so good. I freaking love that intro. I get like, oh man, David just knocked it out of the park. Did he use AI to make that? Or like, I don't understand. They make you.
I'm not going to give away any of his secrets, but he
Woo!
did. That's an original, so that's not something
Wow.
he found or anything like that. He created that. I mean,
That's
maybe he's the one singing. I'm just not going to say.
is so good. I'm ready. I'm feeling extra spicy, Adam. Last night I went to sleep and I have those like, like, so when I'm listening to YouTube during the day or podcast, yesterday I was listening to Greg talk about something and he was talking about goats. And then I was all like spicy. I was doing a project down in the garage and I wrote a comment about how I don't care about certain players. I never have this and that. And then you start like, go, man, it never comes out right. And then I was thinking like, I woke up last night at like 3 a.m. I'm like, man, I feel like a dick. Maybe I said that wrong. Maybe I typed it wrong. But then I got thinking, like, dude, it's so much easier to express ourselves like talking through our comments, where when you leave a comment, you feel like you don't know how it's being taken. And that comment in particular, and I'm not like regretting the comment or anything, but I wanted to clarify it, and I'm not going to bring it up right now. Maybe we'll touch on it later, but I'm just feeling spicy. I'm feeling like talking about my opinions, and I'm feeling about, good or bad or ugly. I'm fired up on cards right now, and I'm not buying. I bought one card so far this whole month. I'm just really excited to talk to you about cards, and I'm okay with talking about my opinions. I'm ready to freaking jam. So let's
All
do it.
right. And on that topic, though, real quick, what you were just saying, I think it was this morning. Yeah, it was this morning. I left a comment on the latest Surface issues with Mike and Greg, and I was thinking the same thing because, like, I left a comment to Mike about like how I think he's an alien. I'm like, you amaze me, and part of me
He
like,
is an alien.
I'm like, I hope he doesn't take that the wrong way because he's my friend, and I hope he knows that I'm just kidding around. But then I'm like, maybe I hope he doesn't get offended by that. But I think he said he's never watered his lawn. And then almost on every episode of Surface Issues, he says something that just like fascinates me about Mike. And
Dude,
so I left
me
that
too.
I'm like, I hope he doesn't take offense to that.
If
I
he
mean it
says
in the best
something
way.
crazy, yeah, I'm so with you. I'll like text him like, dude, are you out of your mind? What are you talking about?
He's like, I hate one was like, I can't stand the beach. And
Yeah, that one I was like, wait, what is
oh,
this?
in one episode, I think he said he's eaten the same exact breakfast for like 20 straight years, like literally the same. I'm just like, he's an alien. That is fascinating,
I love aliens, so it's a
Yep,
compliment. I
me too.
freaking love aliens.
Me too. But
Uh,
I did actually, Dylan, before I think this is something I want to do moving forward. I took one comment from our last video, and
yeah,
I
I
want to
love
bring
this.
it up real quick.
Fantastic.
But before that, actually, I wanted to mention you got it's gone now pretty much, but you had a great mustache in the last episode that a lot of people commented on. So you got rid of that, it looks like.
I'm playing around these days. I'm old. I'm like every day. If I let it grow for like 2 weeks, I'll come out of the bathroom with something all new. I had handlebars one day, like the Fu Manchu. I've done all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm like, I'm not gonna be the guy like my dad who had the same mustache and beard for 25 years. I don't get it. I'm gonna be messing around, so I'll bring that stash back. My wife doesn't care what I do, so yeah, I had fun with it. And then it was long one time, and then I shortened it up, and then she's like, kept calling me Mario, so I kept going, "Let's go, let's go!" Everywhere we went, we were like going surfing. Let's go, putting my arm up, like the one up guy. Let's go.
So tune in next week, and who knows, Dylan might have something else crazy.
I'll cook something up for you guys.
All right.
I'll make sure it's something good.
If you're like me, when you kind of look like it, where I can grow a beard pretty fast.
Oh
It's
yeah,
the Italian genes in me where I get a lot of growth going. So you can kind of get pretty creative pretty fast with the
me
facial
too.
hair. All right. Oh, I printed it out because I'm old school like that. So on our last episode, we were talking about the sports card market and the boom and everything, and I want to highlight Chris Olivo. I think you know him. He's commented on a lot of Chris. It's real small, and I'm old. Chris Olivo 6591 said he actually has a different take on what well, I'm just going to read. He says, I actually have a different take on what I call the modern goat boom going on. I actually don't think hobby prices will crash correct as much as people think compared to the junk wax era and COVID. Those two eras were fueled by a mirage in the hobby. The junk wax boom was exposed because of the massive print runs, and the COVID boom was exposed by government stimulus money. So, what is driving this boom? I actually think collectors are getting smarter and gravitating to iconic rookie cards: Jordan, Brady, LeBron, Griffey, etc. All cards that we all readily admit are the chase cards we all want. These cards aren't compatible to the 91 Upper Deck Todd Van Poppel or the 2019 Prism Zion Williamson, as collectors rush to them during the last boom times. If collectors are rushing to 86 Fleer Jordan and 89 Upper Deck Griffey, I don't see these cards crashing or even correcting. So I thought that was a very interesting comment. What do you think about that?
I think it's a good comment. I would push back a little bit on certain things, as I think what crashed the COVID boom was everyone was buying base card rookie cards and PSA 10s. Everything was going up that made no sense. So it was basically like the junk wax era 2.0, but with PSA 10 base cards instead of just base cards of Greg Jeffries or whoever. And I do find that still is happening again now with like Otani. I never thought in a million years an Otani base card would be worth what it is today. I think it's absolutely insanity. They're great cards. Don't get me wrong, Victor. I love base cards, but I love them as a collector, not as something that I think is should be worth thousands of dollars in a PSA 10. I think it's like they're made by the million load. So I think there's still some flaws in as far as like a correction is going to come at some point no matter what. I'll fight back that as well. There's always going to be a correction no matter what. That's just how markets work. So, but I do like his points, and I'm also a big believer in the fact that I do think the hobby is smarter, but I also think the hobby's just as dumb as it was before, because we're going from, the 90s inserts that were $700 a year ago. Now some of them are like $40,000. So just because it might feel like you're smarter because you're buying the lower numbered or things like that, it still went up 500%. So there's still, to me, that's dumb. And like Michael Jordan's market, it's still out of control. So I still see there's issues in the market, and there's issues, but I'm with him on the goat thing, and that's what I texted. So I'll bring up the comment. Greg did a goats comment, and he asked in the chat, or like his question of the week, and he said something like, why do you think the new collecting phase is the goats? Why are we all gravitated to the goats? My comment was, when I was growing up, all I had on my wall were goats. My mom bought me black and white photos of Ted Williams, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Jimmy Fox. And when I was opening packs when I was a kid, all I did was pull out the stars. Everything else went in the boxes. So I almost resonate with the modern hobby more than the vintage, old guard, I guess you'd say. I love them. I love them. They're all my friends. But I almost resonate as a collector with the modern chase of the goats, because that's how I've always been. So I don't see it any different than before. I think we've always chased the goats. A lot, always have loved those. I just think that it's more pronounced now because we have videos of everything. But Mickey Mantle has always been $1,000 versus $100 for you know, a Clemente. So there's always been a giant gap. And I just think now we just see it more and it's more in our face. That's kind of how I looked at it. And I was saying, like, for me as a collector, like, I don't want to have the whole run of Al Kaline. I want to have one Al Kaline, and I think he will be forgotten, and he is forgotten in the modern space, and his cards aren't going to go up at the same pace, and they never have. So it's kind of one of those things. I'll have one, I have two to show, but I don't feel bad about it. I'm all on board with the GOAT thing. I totally get it. I don't think it's anything new. I just think it's more pronounced and more in our face than it ever has been. But there's always been a massive gap between the GOATs and everybody else.
Yeah, and I like that comment earlier, what Chris was saying, if you're kind of symbolizing different booms, where it was the junk wax boom, when you think Greg Jeffries and Todd Van Poppel, right? And then the COVID boom, where you kind of think of Zion Williamson or John Morant, some of these guys. If this is its own boom, which it seems like it is, I don't know what we're calling it, but when we look back, whatever we're going to call it, maybe we'll think of it as the GOAT boom or something like that, where Michael Jordan and Ken Griffey Jr. and Mickey Mantle and Tom Brady and Jackie Robinson, all these guys that we consider GOATs in the hobby, really took off even further than they were. I kind of like that more than a Todd Van Poppel boom or like a prospect type thing. And it was hard for us to wrap our heads around for a while. I know me, because we're looking at cards like the 89 Upper Deck Griffey and a PSA 10 skyrocketing, right? Doubling. But we know there's like over 4,000 of them. So we're thinking, man, that's a lot. Or the Jordan rookie, Fleer rookie, where we're looking at there's, a lot of those, but they're still climbing, and just all these cards. But when you really factor in that it's probably a hobby and an industry that is just really multiplying in size, those cards, no matter how many there are, demand is just going to outpace. So, yeah, I thought that was an interesting comment. I like thinking about it that way too. So, yeah, maybe it's the GOAT boom, but
I mean,
I'm cool with that. I like that.
You come into the hobby, you're brand new, you're like, who are you going to collect from the past?
Mhm.
Are you going to go, you're probably going to pick your favorite player, right? Like you grew up watching somebody or you had them on your wall and you're an Angels fan and I want to collect Wally Joyner. So I'll be like, oh, I'm going to get some Wally Joyner cards. Great. But who else am I going to collect? I'm going to collect, I'm going to collect, Ken Griffey Jr., right? I'm gonna collect you name it, another player, So for me, like Mike Trout, I'm gonna collect Mike Trout. I'm not gonna go collect Darren Erstad. I'm not gonna collect Garrett Anderson. I'll have like one example, but I'm gonna gravitate towards those. And I don't think it's new. I just think, like you said, it's just so many more people in the hobby. So it is becoming more pronounced and more obvious that the goats are highly collected and people are I don't blame anyone. It's how I collect too. So I collect the goats myself. I always
So,
have. I just haven't said it in those words.
kind of the next thing we want to look at, this was perfect because now the way we do these now is like one of us comes up, or we both sometimes come up with topics, but we don't tell each other. We just, have things, we bring it to the table and we just talk like this. This is so crazy because one of the main things I wanted to talk about in this episode is something I learned. And then just so happened last night, you send me an image that you say you want to share this, which is an awesome image. And it totally works together, as you'll see.
No way.
It's unbelievable, actually. So I'm going to share your image. I'm going to right here. Do you see it? Sort of. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Better. Yeah. So what are we looking at here, Dylan?
All right. So, I haven't been pulling out my turn back the clock binder that much. And I was like, man, I really need to get that on my wall displayed. And I have all these cards. So I got my turn back the clock cards on my wall, the card on cards. So just like you, my whole life, I always dreamed about having the cards that were on these turn back the clock cards. That's the whole like our show is like based off turn back the clock, obviously, because we both love these cards. I think that has a giant thing to do with why we are so attracted to the vintage cards. You know, I grew up in the closest thing I was going to get to a Roger Maris card was that Turn Back the Clock and that Bob Gibson and that Sandy Koufax and that Willie Mays and that Clemente one always struck a chord with me. And then the Johnny Bench. So I pulled them out. I pulled what was down and I have a little Turn Back the Clock section. And it really got me inspired to pull my other Turn Back the Clocks down and put them on my desk. So now I know which ones to hunt for. So it gives me something to go after and kind of a fun way to get back into the Tops vintage cards and have a purpose like my MVP card on cards and not spend a lot of money. But I look at this. I've been looking at this thing constantly. It's right next to my left leg right here. Looking at them in the flesh right now as they're on the screen, and they're just I love them. I love them. I wish. Well, they do these kind of turn back the clocks, but I wish they would do more of this in Tops. You know, right now.
I love the way you displayed that. And I have a similar thing where I have a binder where, one of those PSA holder binders where I have, just like you, I have the original and then I have the Turn Back the Clock next to it. I don't have them all, but I got a good amount so far. A lot of the ones like you're showing here.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I was going through that binder and we'll put us back there. And I was, just kind of uploading some cards to Card Ladder and just building that out, my showcase, and putting the Turn Back the Clocks on there with the originals. And, just kind of, it had me going through like which ones I don't have yet. And, I was looking at 1987 Tops, right? One of the greatest sets from our childhood.
Heck yeah.
Right. And so you got some great Turn Back the Clocks from 87. Clemente, Reggie Jackson, just awesome ones. And so I'm just looking at it, and like I was just looking through eBay listings. I was looking at adding I forget which one I needed, but it was like I couldn't find my Turn Back the Clock of one of them, so I was just like, well, let me just buy, because they're like $1, right? A lot of
Yeah.
them.
Oh yeah, totally.
So anyway, I see one, and the listing said yellow variation, and I was like, what's that? Do you know anything about this?
Must be a Tiffany because they look yellow.
No. Okay, so this is crazy. I got to share something else here. This blew my mind and got me so excited. Let's see if I can share an article here so then I was like Googling about it, and I come up with this website. I'm going to see if I can put it on the screen here. It is, one sec. Here. Okay, get rid of that. And okay, share. There we go. I'm not the best with these, but I'm getting better. All right, so I found this article called it's a site called Junk Wax Gems, right?
Dang.
And this was from 2010, so whatever, 16 years ago. Quick look, 1987 Tops Turn Back the Clock yellow date variations. I'm like, what?
What?
And it turns out one of the rare and more interesting variations that can be found is just in 1987, apparently, on the Turn Back the Clock cards. They call this a needle in a haystack type card, a yellow date. So like, it's hard to see on this.
Oh, wow.
Okay, you see this? 77. Yeah. Most of them are white, if not almost all of them. Apparently, there's like been 5. This was from 15 years ago, right? There's probably some more, I'm guessing now, but this is how rare these things are. They found 5 of the Reggie Jacksons ever. Clemente, there's been 1 copy with a yellow date. Ricky Henderson, 1 copy, and they've yet to find. They've never found a Yastrzemski or a Maury Wills with the yellow date. That's how rare it is. And I was like, and this is kind of different than an error, in my opinion, because if you think about the history of Tops, that's why they said it's especially interesting since they harken back to the 1957 and 69 Tops yellow-white variations. And considering how many 87 Tops cards there were, these yellow date varieties are a true needle in a haystack find. And I was like, how did I never heard about this? Probably because it's so damn rare, right? Yeah. So then we take this off, but want to give credit to that site.
I
I'll
just
put this
pulled
up.
out my
So
turn back the clock binder to see if I have any yellows. I'm like, dude, do I have any? No.
so next thing you know, I'm on eBay searching, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at mine. I don't have any yellows, right? So then I'm searching on eBay, and some of the titles say yellow variation, but then when you look at the picture, it's not. It's like so
Yeah.
they're either trying to say it is or it's just not. They're all white. But I think I might have found two on eBay that I already bought. So nice try, guys. They're already gone. Don't try to get. I think I found two of them. I'm not going to say I have them yet until I receive them because it could have just been a bad image. But what the cool part about this is very few, if any, in the comments, did anyone ever know about this? If you knew about this, put it in the comments. Or if you didn't, tell us in the comments. But what's fun about this now for me is, there's so many of these turn back the clock cards. There's hundreds of thousands of them on eBay, right? So I've been going through and just checking because most of these, they're not going to be labeled, right? Someone who lists $1 turn back the clock card, it could be a yellow variation that the person doesn't even know the difference. There's been a few that have sold. One was like $40, something like. So there's a few that have tried to, get them, and people that know about it charge more for that. So I've been trying to find like the yellow ones. If anyone has any of these yellow ones, I'm a buyer. So let me know. I will pay up for these because I'm all in on these now. I want to find any that are out there. I want to try to find them. And dude, I might be the only one, but what do you think about that? Is that cool or what?
Dude, my mind's blown. And my mind's even more blown that we are both into our turn back the clock cards this last week. Like I dove straight in. I was like, man, I need to pull those out. I'm thinking about them. Dude, I want to go through all my ones in my boxes. Like that's a pretty fun search right there.
To put it in perspective, you think of other junk wax cards. Now, I don't even really consider this an error card. I think probably maybe Topps did it on purpose. You know how they do, with the yellow variations. I think they might have done that as like a, to honor that, right? And then they just never promoted it or said anything about it. This is different than I would say an error, like the, the Frank Thomas no-name card, which is incredibly rare. But this is, I would say, even much rarer than, from what it seems like, this is going to be way rarer than like a Frank Thomas no-name card. That's how rare
it could have been a guy making an Easter egg who knows, working at Topps, knows the history of Topps. And he's like, I'm going to do this. Even maybe the guy working the ink I don't know how it all worked, but somebody knew. And I think you're right. I think it was, that's pretty epic.
So I thought it was really cool. I'm not an error card guy, so to speak, but this to me is cool
variation.
Because it's a variation and it's a turn back the clock. It's a turn back the clock. So I thought I knew everything about 87 Topps, but now I'm fine. That's what's great about this hobby, man, is you just almost never stop learning new things. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Same wavelength. Yeah, man, that's sick. I've been diving in my turn back a clock this week, so that's really freaking cool.
So maybe on the next episode next week, I will update because I'm hoping if I found a couple, they should be coming in soon, and I will update. It might be a false alarm, but I'll let you know on that. I might have hunted them down. We'll see.
That's epic. Okay, before we move on I want to say something about a goat right now. And this, I forgot to put the jersey on. It's in my car. So Kelly Slater, he's a surfer. He is I've said this so many times, but this week he solidified his position as the greatest athlete to ever walk the face of the earth. Okay, let me give you guys a little lowdown on Kelly Slater. He's 11-time world champion. Okay, this is Kelly Slater right here. He is 54 years old right now. He is not on the tour, but they are surfing this place called Chopes or Teapu. I don't know how to say it exactly. It's in Tahiti, and it's this crazy gnarly left, and it's part of the tour where the best guys in the world surf. They're on the tour, top 32, I think it is, or 34 guys. Well, anytime there's a sponsor, every contest, they get one wild card. Well, the sponsor happened to be this company called Outer Gnome, which is owned by Kelly Slater. So basically, he gave himself the wild card to enter this contest against the best surfers on the planet at this moment. 24-year-olds to 34-year-olds, gnarly, insane surfers surfing against Gabriel Medina, guys like this, the best in the world. Well, he put himself in the contest basically, and he is dominating. 2 heats in a row, he crush these kids. I mean, going on this wave will rip your literally people. Many people have died at this wave. People get their faces ripped off at this wave. It's an incredibly heavy wave. Well, his first heat, he comboed the guy, which means the kid didn't have a chance. The second he surfed against Gabriel Medina, who's the guy in the Olympics who stood up, jumped off the wave, and did that one pose in the air. One of the best surfers to ever live, Gabriel Medina, and he comboed him yesterday in the heat. He's 54 years old, and he did this wipeout where he dropped. I urge you to go watch it. I did an edit. I'm probably going to post it on my channel at some point. Dropped from the sky, and everyone thought he was dead. Like, everyone was like, oh my gosh, like dropped like 20 feet, pin drop. The guy pops up, board broken in pieces, went back to the channel, got another board, went out, and just went crazy. So to me, talking about goats, there is no athlete on the face of the earth that has ever accomplished what Kelly Slater has accomplished in any sport in 54 years old. So I had to bring that up and give him some credit for what he's accomplishing right now. He has a heat today if they run the contest, if it's big enough. Incredible stuff. So there we go. Enough said.
I love that. I love hearing that. That is so cool. And actually, I meant to watch. I'm sure you've seen it, but Kelly Slater documentary. I think it came out on HBO. I think it was years back, but I've heard it's just outstanding. And people say, like, even if you don't care about surfing, which I do like surfing, even though I'm not a surfer like you, but I think it's awesome. Even if you're not into it, it's still a great documentary. So it's been on my list for years to watch. So I gotta check it out. I know a decent amount about him, but I think I would appreciate him even more after I watch something like that.
He puts Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, you name it, to shame. This cat is gnarly. He is so incredible. So yeah, man. Anytime someone brings up goats, I'm like, no one ever says Kelly Slater. Like, you guys are blowing it.
It's funny. I wanted to ask you about another guy who you collect and are a fan of, and it's Mike Trout.
Yeah.
If I want to ask you, briefly, so there was a trade deadline that just came up, and again, Mike Trout didn't get traded, even though he's on, I think it's like the worst team in baseball. Worst team in baseball, twice.
They started out good, like the first week. I was like, oh, they look pretty good.
So I was hoping he would, for me and, whatever, the hobby and fans, I was hoping Mike Trout would get traded to some sort of a contender so that he could potentially have some postseason baseball, some meaningful moments. And I don't know all the inner workings, but it seems like he's got that no trade clause where he's just not going to wait. He likes living in LA, probably, I'm guessing. I don't know where he lives. I don't know the motivation, but he plays for the Angels, so I'm guessing he lives nearby. He likes living there. It's a nice place to live. So I'm guessing that's more important to him. I know he's got a family and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask you, as someone who's a fan and a collector and an Angels, do you consider yourself, you're an Angels fan, right?
Full blown. Yeah. I'm an Angels fan above all other teams.
Do you have even a more favorable feeling towards Mike Trout, and from a collecting standpoint, want to collect his cards even more, that he's probably going to be an Angel for life, I'm guessing, at this point? Does that make him more attractive as in those aspects? Or would you respect him even more, or look at him even in a better light if he had more of a competitive drive to want to win? Not that he doesn't, but you see it a lot where players, they reach a point where they want to compete for something, for a championship. I'm kind of back and forth on it, where I see both sides. I see how people could really appreciate someone who plays for one team their whole career and didn't just try to go to, greener pastures and take the easy way out. He wanted to stick it out. And then I can also see the other end of everyone saying, like, man, don't you want to win? Don't you want to at least have a shot to play in the World Series? What do you think? What's your take on that?
I look at it like for me as an Angels fan, I don't want to see him leave. I don't care if he makes the World Series or plays in the playoffs ever again or ever. Like, that doesn't really matter to me. Baseball is so different. It's such a team thing. I mean, Otani was on the team with them too, and they couldn't put it together. So it's not like it's Trout blowing it or
No.
anything. It's the team. The
Right.
Angels, the owner of the Angels, just didn't put the time and effort and money into building that team up. The only team I would like him to go to would be the Yankees. And then also if he went to the Dodgers, because it's like a sure thing.
Yeah.
But even then, it would be like a turncoat if you went to the Dodgers, because I don't like the Dodgers.
Right.
As an Angels fan, I don't like the Dodgers. It's like always been a deep rivalry. I don't like LA. I don't like going to LA. I'm on like it's a different planet than Orange County. Um, it's like one of those things. So for me, I want to see him in the Angels forever. I'm okay with it. I mean, the guy is a GOAT. He's one of the greatest to ever play the game. I don't care what anyone says. When you look at his stats on the back of his baseball card, it is lit up with italics. It's not like anything we've ever seen. His rookie season was the best season a rookie has ever had in the history of baseball. He had like a 10 something war rookie season. And then he went on after that for 5 seasons, 6 seasons, maybe 7 seasons in a row of mind boggling baseball. To me, he's one of those guys who's just in that transition stage, like, and he's just lost in the collecting loophole, and it's great for me. I can just continue to collect his cards. So if he went to the Yankees, his stuff would probably skyrocket, at least for a moment. But also, it also might not skyrocket because he's known to be an Angels, and I respect the heck out of the fact that he wants to stay with one team the whole time, and he's loyal to them. And he's a family guy, he's just a super nice guy. He's not polarizing, so I think that hurts his collectability. But as far as his numbers go, there's been no one like him in the last, 30, 40 years. If you look at his stats versus Griffey's stats, it's not even comparable. But Griffey's just a more popular person. Came out, he's just a more lovable type of guy, more, came in with his hat backwards. So for me as a collector, Mike Trout is just he's just a really good guy to like, and he's a good player to collect, and I want him to stay in the Angels.
Yeah.
I don't care.
It's
I don't care.
interesting. I was thinking about it because, like a guy like LeBron James
Yeah, he just chases
he gets
championships
criticized
everywhere.
because he chases championships and he just goes to,
Yeah,
I just want to go wherever I can win. And then you have a guy like Mike Trout, who's on the other end of the spectrum, who's just like, I'm just going to stay with my team, over trying to chase a ring or playoffs or whatever. So it's like, it's almost like you can't win, I guess. Right.
can't win.
So yeah.
And winning's not I mean, I get it. Sports, you're supposed to want to win all the time and be on the best team and whatnot. But when I was playing sports, it was very individual for me. Like if the team lost and I had a great game, I was freaking pumped, And if the team won and I had a horrible game, I didn't care. I wasn't, especially baseball, it's a very individual thing. On like you come up to bat. That's why baseball's so great. Every player gets a chance to be the hero. Where basketball, you just give the ball to the best player on the team, and they can dominate. Soccer, you get the guy the ball, you get the one person the ball. Where baseball, you all get an opportunity. So for me, to win, you have to have a great team, but to be a great player, you don't need to win a championship in baseball. That's how I
Yeah.
look at it. That's how I've always looked at it. I wasn't rooting against my team when I was a kid, but I also I wanted to have a good game. I wanted to play good, you know? So
Yeah, and
that's how I look at it.
baseball is a lot, yeah, like different than football and basketball, where like in basketball you can make your teammates better, on the court. So it's a little different. In baseball, you could go 4 for 4 with 4 home runs and make every play, but at the end of the day, your team might still lose. It doesn't
Yeah.
affect. So
But you're probably still going to go home fired up because you just
yeah,
smashed it. I
yeah.
would anyways as a player.
So in the last let's say 10 minutes here of this episode, Dylan, I always got different other topics that I could save them for next. Do you have anything that you'd want to talk about?
No, not
the
in
next 10 minutes?
particular. If you got something going on, let's do it. I kind of
Well, one thing I wanted to talk about that I've been seeing myself do a little more than I used to is getting multiple copies of the same card. And not just with vintage either, because with vintage it's like
They're all different.
You might have 149.8 Ted Williams like I had, and then I bought another one which I'll show at some point that is better centered. So it's like the centered parallel of that card.
Wait, you have 2 Ted Williams Leafs cards?
I might have just let the cat out of the bag, but that's one of my national pickups. I'm not ready to show it yet. I don't have it, teed up, but
wow.
Yeah. So maybe on the next episode I'll show it and I'll talk about that. But I kind of looked at it. It was like, I'm gonna, instead of replacing, right? I mean, it's a luxury to be able to do this, but and when you're a player collector mainly, I don't have as broad of a collection as far as players, so you can kind of go like, Ted Williams is one of the guys. I don't super collect him like I do Mickey Mantle, but and he doesn't have that many cards. So like, I'm like, what, maybe instead of getting this Ted Williams card, I might just get 2 of the 48, 49 Leaf, right? Because one's nice for one eye appeal and then the other one's better centered. So it's like I said, the centered parallel. But I've even been doing a little bit with like modern cards, a couple of Tom Brady rookies that I really like. I don't know. I've just been buying like multiple copies of the same card, and I'm trying to figure out why. I just really like the card. Maybe some of them I do think that like, someday if they go up a lot in value even more and I sell one, at least then I'll still have one, because a part of me is thinking like, someday I'm going to sell a lot of these cards probably, right? But I kind of still want to have maybe even one like a lower graded one or something like this, less valuable, just to still have it. So what is your thoughts on multiple copies of the same card? Obviously you can go in a lot of different directions with it, but I've noticed myself, it's not something I ever really did that much of in the past. Now for whatever reason, I'm starting to do it. so it's just something I've been thinking about.
For me, I love the topic because for me, I used to be a doubles, triples. I used to, I have my Robin Yount rookie that I have multiple copies, George Brett, Reggie Jackson, I used to have loads of. It's like one of those things for me. I used to do that. I used to say, I'm going to buy all these and then one day I'm going to use them and I'll sell them one day. But I don't normally ever sell them. And for me, I can't do that. So I don't have the luxury of buying a Mickey Mantle card and then buying another 52 Bowman Mickey Mantle card. I'm going to get one shot at this thing. But I totally get it. And I do that with some modern stuff that is like $25. And I'm like, you know what? I believe in this card. I think this card, like my Jackie Robinson, the first ever serial numbered card, I bought 2 of those so far. And I might end up buying a lot more of them if I can find more of them at the right price. Once you kind of learn a card and you get like this belief in your head, and I know we have other friends that do the same thing, and I think it's really smart because you could buy doubles and then it gives you a chance to sell that card in the future. And if you really know the card, you know the player, and you have this belief that it's going to be worth a lot more, you know, at least 50% of the time, you're probably right. You've been in the hobby long enough, you know sports cards, you know how this hobby works. And the odds are you're going to do pretty well buying more than one copy. And then you have something to sell for a later date. It's like, it's like putting it in the bank and going, this thing is going to triple in value so I can use that money later. But it's, for me, I don't have that. I don't have that luxury. I get one shot at these bigger cards and that's all I get. But I think it's a great idea. I know plenty of guys that do that, but I'm not a guy who's going to buy a card and then buy another one to upgrade the eye appeal. I'm going to do it once and that's it. Obviously I probably broke this rule a couple times in my life, but once I go after a card for the vintage world, I'm not, that's it. I don't want to chase my tail all the way to the, I know we have friends who will buy multiple copies and just try and upgrade it, not upgrade the number, upgrade the eye appeal over and over again. Man, I'm not going to chase my tail on one card. I'm on to the next card after I buy that card. But I totally get where people are coming from, and I get it. If I had the luxury to buy some of these cards that I believed in more than one copy, man, I would have done it.
Yeah, and I think with me, it's I've I don't know, because it's not, I don't have the luxury really either, but it's kind of like instead of having more different cards. I just love certain cards so much, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna have 2 of this card instead of that other one that I was thinking of getting with the same amount of money. So it's like I guess less variety, maybe the same amount of cards in the collection, but just maybe just multiples of certain ones. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
I get it. There's nothing like for me, like going in my binder of Younts and seeing page and
It's
pages
crazy.
of Yount rookies and George Brett rookies. So if you have like 4 Ted Williams leaf cards on your wall, I could stare at all 4 of them, right? So
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with it.
I'm
I
not going.
totally
I'm not
get
going.
it.
I just want to make it clear. I'm not going to do that, right? I'm like, when it comes to like, I'm lucky I got 2 of those. I might not always have 2, but yeah. So well, it's just something I was thinking about. Like, I guess we just go through different phases. It doesn't mean that's how I'm always going to be, but it's interesting how you just, I don't know, you just kind of move around a little bit. You start doing things that you didn't used to do, and
For
it's just,
sure.
yeah, it's just fun. It's fun to sometimes, like I said, not I still like the other one too. So it's like, I started going down that road where I was like, all right, I'm going to sell this one because I like this one better. And then now I'm like, I think I'll just keep that one. I'll keep that one for now. But I do have one more topic that kind of just do you have like 5 more minutes?
Heck yeah.
All right.
Yeah, let's do
All
it.
right. So you were mentioning, we were talking about eye appeal, different cards, that vintage cards and so forth. Eye Appeal Inc., the website that Maddie C runs.
Yep.
I did start uploading a few cards there. I just wanted to kind of, just test it out a little bit.
Yep.
I want to say up front, it's a great website. Like, as someone who is in that industry, it has been for a while. I can tell there's been a lot of work put into that website, and it shows. It's a great design site, a lot of features. I mean, that site, if you check that thing out, I know what goes into something like that, all the features it has and all the technology that it has with it. That is a big investment with time, money. So that's a great website. Now, I had an interesting thought though, because I don't really have anything negative to say about the site. It's positive. It's a great site. I uploaded some cards and I like the idea. I really do. I like the concept of, eye appeal, right? Of cards that look good and for the grade or whatever. I like how when you upload a card, it blurs out the grade automatically for you. I think that is so cool, right? Because then you can upload it and no one's going to be affected by what the number says. But it got me thinking, like, as I'm looking more into the site and like, kind of what the features are and how it works and everything. And then I started thinking about, I used to be a big user of the PSA set registry. And, I always took it for what it was, like I'm not someone who always cared that much about the grade or anything like that. But I did like the idea of it. I thought it was kind of cool. But a lot of people would really push back against it and say, like, what you're competing over cards, or, what's the whole point? There's a lot of negativity towards the PSA set registry. And then I'm looking at this site and I'm thinking, I like the fact that we're ranking the look of the card over the number, right? Who could argue against that, right? Buy the card, not the grade. But then I'm starting to think, like, it's very similar in a way, right? There's a lot of like, all right, you're ranking your card. It's a Hall of Fame card. It's this tier. People are picking apart your card. People are telling you what's wrong with it and why this one's better than this one. And, prices I'm seeing are being hugely reflected on eye appeal, just like you see with grades, right? The higher the grade. So it got me thinking, like, it's not really that different, even though the premise is very different. The site itself it has a very similar feel to the set registry. There's a big competition on there, right? Which is, I'm not saying it's wrong, but if you're someone who's real negative on the PSA set registry, I don't know. It's kind of, there's a lot of similarities to like what you see on that site. I don't know. Am I off base with this?
No, I don't think you're
No.
off base with it. It makes sense to me. What I find fascinating about this whole eye appeal thing and the sticker thing is the fact that we have to pay a guy like Mike Baker to look at our card and give it a sticker when there's stickers for free at Fanatics. There's stickers for free on Eye Appeal Inc. And you get way more opinions on Eye Appeal Inc. That's what I love. So for me, man, I hope Eye Appeal Inc. blows up and we can screenshot our card with the sticker or, with the grade or the you know, the number that the letter, you know, A through whatever it is, an IQ score, and put it on eBay, and people understand it because it's free. We're People are buying these eye appeal stickers. We're spending money. First, you got to grade the card. Then you got to spend another $25 plus to get it Mike Baker's approval of this card. So I am not a fan of the Mike Baker stickers. I totally understand it as a seller, and even as a buyer I understand, you know, you have somebody else, but for me, if I
but
appeal.
let me interrupt you. What
Okay.
do you think about the concept of eye appeal website, eye appeal Inc., how it's like, you know, it's very competitive on there, right? Like, oh,
I'm fine. I love
this
it.
is the
I think
best, this is the best 52 Bowman mantle. This is, you know,
dude,
okay.
I'm great. Dude, competition's great. It's fun. That's life. Competition is super fun. I don't enjoy that part of it. I don't do the set registry. I would never get in a competition with a friend about collecting. That's not
But what's
my
the
lane.
difference? You're competing on a number versus you're competing. I agree that we like the better looking cards, right? It makes way more sense, but like, it's still a competition on both sites. You're competing. It's a competition.
I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't argue. And you hear Mike Petty, he sounds like he's totally into the competition. He's all fired up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
So I look at it as like, who cares? I don't care if my card gets, you know, is the top god tier card in that card or the bottom. It's irrelevant to me. And you're right. It is a competition. 100% it's competition for the eye appeal cats out there, but it's also a useful. I look at it just different. So I see your side of it.
Because someone might say, like, I like technical condition. I'm a technical condition guy, right? I want a card that's technically better condition. And then some people might say
numbers are for you, grades are for you then.
But okay, so I guess I'm going to sum it up with the people that are real negative on the competing aspect of the PSA set registry. You should also be negative of the eye appeal registry or competition, right? Or if you're positive, if you don't care either way, that's fine. But that's all I was trying to say is, like, you know, don't be so hard in the PSA set registry and then you're all about this eye appeal Inc. registry or rankings, because it's yes, I totally agree. Better looking cards. Who can argue about that, right? As a ranking, I think that's a better. If you're going to compete, it's better to compete on that. But I like both, you know, like I get both. But I just, again, I see people that are very negative on one, but then like all about the other. I don't know how you can.
I don't even understand why anyone's negative on the PSA set registry anyways.
Well,
who cares?
There's a lot. Yeah,
it's crazy to me. Yeah. I mean, people are probably going to leave comments like, what does it matter? I mean, we have so many friends. You are in the registry for your Tom Brady's. Plenty guys do the registry and they buy only cards graded in PSA, and I don't care. I think it's awesome. Fantastic. You know, they're the only ones with a set registry. It makes a lot of my cards that I have in PSA slabs worth more money because not really, because really it only makes the commons worth a lot more money, and I don't have any more of those. I think the set registry could be great fun if you're into that type of stuff, and same with IP Link. But I think, yeah, they're both competitions. I'm just not it. Yeah. Whatever. I look at it different.
I'm just bouncing it off you. You know, I see these things throughout the week and I write a little note down. I'm like, let me run this by Dylan and maybe.
Yeah, I got notes. Yeah. I hear you.
All right, Dylan, I think that's good for this one. Another fun episode. I still got other topics that we'll save for next time. There's always something else to talk about. So
always.
Any last words?
Man, I want to keep talking about things. I just, I don't have my notes out either. I'm like,
next week.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. See you next time.
You.
Turn back the clock. Turn back the clock.